Welcome to A Desert's Journey. This channel will rarely post videos as I don't tend to be a steady content creator, but wanted to share some thoughts with particular folks, and this is the easiest way to be clear and consistent with my rambling. Much like the desert monk, St. Anthony of Egypt, I've spent half my life thus far seeking to learn from others and grow in virtue and holiness. To be fair, I'm still considered a young fellow, and echoing the sentiments of St. Ambrose, by the grace of God, still a work in progress. Some of that progress has and continues to be in the realm of attachment, to which we are discussing today. As a rather sentimental man, there is some nostalgia, or more appropriately considered, connection of love for those whose memories are represented through the use of tangible items. A simple example is how a pocket knife or watch reminds me of my grandfather, as so many fond memories involve working with him on home projects and his skillful use of a Swiss Army knife, along with gifting me a pocket watch which I'll pass on to my nephew at his upcoming birthday this summer. Add to that the appreciation for the history of knife pattern design, materials, and social representation. For example, a knife pattern called the Senator is a small pen knife that was meant to offer some cutting utility while not being obtrusive when pocketed. It was advertised as so small that, like the elected representative, you won't know he's shifting around in your pocket. As I've grown and spent a lot of hard-earned money on life's necessities and that which brings me joy, I've applied several times the collecting principle of reduce and refine, meaning that as the collection grows, one sells off less appreciated items to obtain something more refined, focused, or valuable for the collection. This helps reduce clutter, evolve the collection over time, and most importantly, in my opinion, instill a degree of material detachment. Detachment from earthly goods is not just biblical but important today. It helps us to be steadfast in loving people and using things, instead of loving things and using people. Detachment allows us to rely on the will of God and His providence, rather than our own emotional whims and limited understanding as we undergo life. What I have here on camera, in a cluttered table, like many others, is a representation of that endeavor. Whereas as a young single man with very few obligations, I saw money, something disposable, while taking for granted that which God has blessed me with. Much of my spare money was spent on various hobbies, and while the experiences had helped shape my life over time, looking back it could have been much more advantageous to shift from collecting this or that into preparing for what life could look like in the future. But lo, much like others, I was stuck in the present while overvaluing the past by memorializing instead of being present and being a steward of gifts received. What does this have to do with the coins and the bullion you see here today? Well, as my collections are reduced, they are being refined into silver and gold. As a single income family, we are, by God's grace, blessed beyond what we deserve. It is my responsibility to retain and to use for those entrusted to me that which has been granted: time, resources, and effort. This responsibility is being relearned and redefined as I plan towards next year's employment shift. So it's important for me not to make any huge decisions prior to the time we move, but instead to continue preparing for what my family's new way of life might blossom into. Regarding this stack, this is the third time I've collected metals. I intentionally use those two words that many consider opposing: stack and collect. I'm collecting coins and bullion that are both interesting to me, so that they stay in the stack, and that retain the most value from high liquidity while acquiring at the lowest reasonable price at scheduled intervals. Tangentially, this past week I've gone through some stacking channels watching their very first videos to see if what's being promoted around the interweb presently is what was believed and promulgated 7 to 10 years ago. While I have seen some development, overall they've been projecting the same end as when they began making content. That is, a collapse in the financial system in some way or another. As such, a collapse has not occurred in the past decade, and we aren't bartering with Nuka-Cola bottle caps. I find it prudent to stress that our reliance should be on God's grace, mercy, wisdom, and strength instead of our own. Which gets us back to the detachment concept, honoring God in the stewardship of His gifts, be them of material nature, such as money and health, or immaterial, such as wisdom, knowledge, creativity, and above all, love. For as we see in the book of Job, God gives and also takes away. I share these thoughts with you as I near one of my stacking goals, reflecting on talents received and continuing through much discernment to prepare my family for life challenges and changes to come. The reason, though, for this reflection is that of gratitude towards God. I've been extremely blessed and want to remind all those who may see this video of the importance of gratitude. You'll go ahead in life sometimes on autopilot where things seem to be going well, thinking that life has become easy because of your plan, and you'll forget or ignore that for the smallest reason, it could be any other way. A little better or a little worse, but surely it could be different. There are also times in life that seem like you're in quicksand, and no matter what you do, you keep sinking. Life is a school of virtue. Rejoice and be thankful for the opportunity, however easy or difficult it may be presently, to be a blessing to those entrusted to you, through the gifts that God has entrusted for your use, that you may glorify Him in all things. Gratitude is the disposition of humility, the understanding that we are not God, and the appreciation that He is. Be grateful for who you are today, and be grateful for the ways that God has blessed you. Then be merciful to yourself, that you may be merciful in love toward others. Thanks be to God. Dominus vobiscum.